Production ISE 2025. So today we are going to discuss a very exciting topic, the VP Supervisor as Creative Bridge, uniting traditional and virtual production. And we have invited such kind of fantastic panelists with us. So could you please introduce yourself? Maybe we can start from Olivia?
With me.
Yeah.
Fantastic. My name's Olivia Farrar. A little introduction. I actually started as an animator 10 years ago. I fell into motion capture, started supervising on set, started working for Marvel, Warner Brothers, Disney, and yeah, it was an amazing time. I ended up doing a lot more virtual production halfway through my career. That introduced me to LED practice and augmented reality. And then I started to get into more broadcasts with sport and started leading teams for tracking and virtual production. And a year ago, I actually started my own company called All Groovy. And yes, I'm the CEO, and I actually have my CTO here, but he's gone, so fantastic. But yeah, so I've been in the industry for around 10 years now, and it's just full of challenges, isn't it? But it's so exciting, and I love working in it. God,
Nice.
great. Yeah.
I'm David Gray. I actually used to work with Liv.
We did
spent
used
some
to work
time
together,
working
yeah.
together on Barbie.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers, and I currently work with Eve as well, so at Aardman, so that's nice. You've got quite a big history though, so I originally wanted to be a camera guy. That's what I wanted to be initially. And then I kind of fell into live events and using technology like the LED walls for doing that. Became a creative director, ran a content studio doing that. Came back to more and more real-time processes, which is obviously a bedrock of virtual production. And now, I run my own company, providing VP supervision and consultancy for people who, mainly in film and high-end TV, but maybe they're building a wall for, whatever they want. Education, product advertising, it's a spectrum.
David Gray is actually the nicest person in virtual production.
Wow, that's an accolade.
You are. You truly are.
That's quite a big shoes to fill, right?
Niels is pretty nice as well.
Oh, I don't know.
Pretty nice. Not as nice as David, though. My name is Nils Pauwels. I've been very lucky. I've been involved in one of the very first virtual production LED shoots ever for Gravity in 2012, 11. And I never stopped doing it. Currently own a VP stage in Amsterdam, have my own company called Immersive Productions, and I am the co-founder of a NGO called the Institute of Immersive Media, where we try to bridge the gap between available technology and creativity. Over to you, Eve.
Hello, I'm Eve Bolotova, and I've got a weird job title. I'm a virtual production and scanning technician. So I'm focused on integrating cutting-edge, innovative digital tools into more traditional art forms of filmmaking, like stop-frame animation. Me and David are currently co-leading this R&D called Virtual Production at Model Scale. And this is me.
Thank you. That's fantastic. The first one-on-one question I would like to goes to the OG of virtual production in UK, David Gray. Yeah. Hey. Okay, it's a long question, by the way. Yeah. Hi, David. Virtual production has really taken off in recent years. But balancing traditional and virtual method can still be tricky. As a VP supervisor, how do you help balance workflows between these two worlds?
Hello. Yes, we're back. Thank you. Spicy. We're learning to mute the microphones. Well, as a VP supervisor, I very much see it as the bridge between traditional production and virtual production. So you are that department heads. You're helping creators to understand, what virtual production is. We spent a lot of time doing that 4 years ago, whenever it was 5 years ago. Starting to get a little bit more understood, which makes our lives a little bit easier. But you should really be there to help a whole spectrum of production needs. It could be, a AAA Hollywood Barbie scale production trying to do something with, completely hyperreal CG worlds. It could be driving plates at the other end of the spectrum, right? It could just be playing back videos. So the questions they might ask you there is like, how can I get my plates? What do I need to think about when I'm doing that? You know, so there can be quite technical questions, and it very much depends on the person in production you're talking to. Like, the question a producer is going to ask you is going to be very different to the DOP. The DOP is going to care about color, light. The producer is going to care about how long is it going to take, and of course, how much is this going to cost me? Don't lean forwards. Stay leaning back. Stay leaning back. Wow, I lost my thread there. So yeah, like you really are that bridge between the traditional production and the new production, and I think Eve will be able to talk about some of the experience of working within Aardman animations as well, which is I like to say slightly tongue-in-cheek that film hasn't really changed in 100 years. Like, we changed from film celluloid to digital, and we changed from tungsten to LED, but like the process is actually pretty similar still. And stop motion is very similar to that as well, where, you know, Aardman is essentially still making films the same way they made them 40 years ago. So being that technological bridge is like a really cool part of the role.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. And the second question I will goes to the lady, Olivia. Yeah. Hey, Olivia. So in your opinion, what are the biggest differences and challenges between virtual production and traditional production? How do you think the VP supervisor can serve as a bridge between these two methods? Ooh.
Yeah, it's a hard question. So obviously I don't come from a traditional background, but I've had to work with so many traditional departments to form relationships that help me on a day-to-day. It's extremely hard coming into a film set and saying, hey, I need to put all this equipment onto your equipment. People are like, absolutely not. This is like absurd. I've never had to do this, you know, and you have to fight these battles. But what I've learned with working in these environments is that you kind of have to form some sort of friendship with other departments, which naturally happens. But, you know, in the industry, it's not particularly, it's not always the most warmest of welcomes when people are either, you know, they're a bit intimidated by what we do. You know, they look at us sometimes of like, oh, you know, the brain bar or whatever. Don't they? Yeah, they think we're like coming in to take over, but we're not. We need them as much as, you know, they need us really for these jobs, because it kind of is helping us take the technology to the next level as well. We actually get to really push the boundaries sometimes. When I used to work for Marvel, we used to have to bring in motion capture suits into these live environments. I used to have to build in Vicon cameras into the art department sets, right? And it was just some of the most craziest of times of my life, just trying to figure out how I could ask politely, can I destroy what you've made so beautifully, and but then also navigating your schedules of like, how do I get this motion capture person suited up in time for the traditional schedule that's happening day to day. And the same with LED, really. You go in, and especially from a tracking point of view, I'm putting all my tracking equipment onto the camera, which, you know, God forbid, not allowed. But because I start to make these relationships with people, they start to understand. And I think when you include people and you actually start teaching them, they want to do it. Like, the amount of time we wave the big old LEDs, right? And then they're like, I want to give it a go. They don't know what really is going on, but having that inclusive sort of environment is really, really important. And I think from a supervisor point of view, you do get a lot of clients that have never done this before, right? And that can be a fail. Like that it can, because obviously when say a producer has never done it, but you know there's a lot of authority in that position. You have to navigate and adapt quickly so that you're not offending or really, right? Like, it is hard sometimes. You're not here to be more clever. It's just like, I'm trying to help this situation so that you're not spending more money in post, when the whole point of us doing virtual production was to avoid it, right? Having a massive pre-production stage and having a lot of talks and forming those relationships is really, really important. And that's generally where I think my supervisor role normally falls. But yeah, I don't know if that answers it. Might want to go on a tangent. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia. Yeah, I like the way you're mentioning about pushing the boundaries and keeping the balance, right? So I guess Nils has a lot to share, right? So I got a next question for you. So with virtual production technologies evolving so rapidly, how do you ensure that traditional production teams can keep up and fully leverage these new tools?
Well, this is a trick, right? It's really educating people from step one to the final end result. And most people still, even though we've been doing virtual production for quite some time now, or LED virtual production, whatever you want to call it, still haven't worked with it. I would say 95% of the people in film still have not got their hands dirty in a way that they have actually been on a VP stage or worked with any of the VP technologies that are out there. And that's also why we all do this, why we all sit here, and why sometimes it feels like we're more public speakers than actually making films or doing, doing what we do. And it's also one of the reasons why me and 3 others found it necessary to start an NGO to not promote technology as is, but more to bridge the gap and make people aware about what technology can do. And then we're not only talking about virtual production or visual effects or AI, literally every technology there is, because the creatives, the decision makers, the policy makers don't go to these kind of trade shows like ISE or IBC or NAB, whatever. They go to the film festivals. So we decided to bring technology to the film festivals and have master classes and hands-on demonstrations and so on, trying to really educate people what is possible and also what things might cost and where it might benefit them, and also what the limitations are. Because obviously with any technology, you can do a lot of things, but nothing is like the one tool that does it all. There's no Swiss Army knife in film production whatsoever. So it is a very difficult subject. Luckily, nowadays there are film schools and educational institutes that actually offer trainings, whereas I think most of us had to figure out the hard way. With bleeding fingers and minds going crazy about why stuff didn't work and why all of a sudden it would work, and did you plug it in or did you switch it off? And we all did that, but now we are able to talk about it in a way, and then also there's curricula being developed by high-end universities. And I see, for example, there's NYU on one of your projects, and which is fantastic that it's being embraced on that level too.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm thinking of registering for a master class now. Okay, so the last question, one-on-one question for Eve. So at what stage of a project do you think the VP supervisor should get involved to ensure creative alignment between virtual and traditional production?
I think the short answer is as early as possible. I think in any kind of traditional filmmaking productions, most of the problems and most of the challenges come from miscommunication or lack of communication between departments or lack of clarity. And as Nils mentioned, VP virtual production is not new discipline. However, it is still a very rare discipline. And since it's rare, not that many people got their hands dirty and tried working on VP environments, and it is critical. It becomes like critical to establish this communication. So therefore, VP supervisor should, in my opinion, join the project join these conversations at the pre-planning or at least at the planning stage. And it is, I guess, there's got to be a clear reason why a film production decides to use VP as a solution over other methods traditional methods. So whether it's, I don't know, whether they need interactive reflections or whether it's the comfort of working in the same kind of controlled environment and being able to virtually visit different locations in one day. But there's got to be a clear reason. And having VP Supervisor joining the project earlier, the production will ensure that they understand what is possible and what the advantages are, but most importantly, what the limitations are, what cannot be done. And I think some people get overly excited about the technology, thinking, oh, all of my problems are just going to go away and there's a magic button and yeah, that's it. Like VP Supervisor will make it happen. And it's never the case. And we were just talking earlier with Nils and with Olivia that limitations is actually the key, like understanding the technology and what it can offer. And virtual production is a tool. And you, like any tools, you should use it with, you know, with kind of, you should know how and when to use it.
Thank you, Eve. Very deep thoughts. And now we are moving to the group questions for everyone to discuss about. And the first question is, I'm wondering about what advice would you give to aspiring professionals entering the virtual production space, especially regarding cross-industrial communication and collaboration? So who do you want to start from?
Oh no, you go. Well, as I said earlier, have a rich dad, right? That's no. I mean, the only way to learn it is actually by doing it, and as we mentioned before, is you can learn a lot of things online by watching the Netflix virtual production explanatory sessions and so on. But we live in a world where everything changes, you know, sometimes by minute. And everything can be different, and small difference in wiring or coding can make, you know, your life a living hell, or it can change everything for the better as soon as. But it is really doing it. It is doing it. It's learning. And I'm not saying you should learn how to build an LED wall. Though it does help if you understand how that actually works and how it's put together. But you know, yeah, right. And have you done it actually? Have you actually built an? Yeah. Well, there you go. You should one day. But yeah, to me, it's learning everything, and it's talking to everybody that lives in this realm, that lives and breathes it, and also partially having to understand traditional filmmaking techniques, because it's not that different. And when we say VP is not new, as we mentioned before, there's certain examples from date. I think the first one I heard was dating back to 1905, where somebody used like a slideshow projection as a digital background. Well, analog digital background.
Yeah, George Méliès is obviously big in the retro VFX game. He did a lot of stuff like that. So I think, yeah, I'm going to keep leaning back. To pick up on your point, Nils, one of my favorite sayings is try to learn everything about something and something about everything. And that'll definitely help you in VP. Like, you might want to be an Unreal Engine operator maybe, but definitely learn like how networks work, right? Like that's going to help you. Like you said, if you're going to be a CG artist, go out with a traditional camera and learn what happens when you change, you know, exposure and shutter speed and stuff like that. If you're going to work in camera tracking, like learn a little bit about engine, the same thing. So like having that grounded knowledge is, especially you want to be a supervisor, which is like what we're talking about today, you have to be able to essentially be the translation layer between the technical team and the film team. So like Nils said, knowing about film is going to help you, and you have to translate from one language into another and also give very accurate time estimates generally.
Are you going?
I was just going to say, I think from a personal point, what has made me a successful supervisor is that I've done every single job that my team has had to do. And building an LED wall, thank you so much. How dare you? I was on New York last year doing the Martin, thank you. But yeah, truly, like, you kind of sympathize for what people have to do to a day-to-day. And being a supervisor who's had to do that, you can, like Eve was saying, being part of it so early, you can schedule it in a successful way. And being a young person that wants to come into the industry and, you know, succeed, it's put yourself in a room where everybody is smarter than you and you just absorb all of the knowledge and the experience that people have done. You can learn anything, but it's experience that's really, really important. And yeah, I mean, shake as many hands as you can. I think that's another thing. Like, people are there's so many options for software and hardware out there. It doesn't particularly mean that they're going to work on every single job. So make sure that you learn or at least introduce yourself to everything. And yeah, there's normally a ripple effect, isn't there? Like, if you start learning Unreal, you're going to fall into, say, in my world, you have to understand tracking, like you really do, for it to be a gel. So start opening up your mind a little bit and yeah, introducing yourself to other areas. Maybe you don't like them as much or you're not as interested, but truly it will help 100%.
I would just add that I think filmmaking business and is is it you? It's a very much a people's game. So being a nice person is the most important thing, because I believe that you can learn any technical kind of skills and you can pick them up and people will train you. But being a nice person is like the key. And also I think being not afraid to ask questions. I ask questions every single day. I just say, like, David would, you know, would not let me lie. So I ask it every single day. Can you please walk me through that? I don't understand it. And it's actually being professional when you say, can you please explain this to me so I understand? So yeah, not being able to ask questions and yeah, being enthusiastic and curious, I guess, and just a nice person.
Okay, so very nice. One thing I want to highlight is what David mentioned about know something about everything and know everything about something, including building the LED wall. Right? Okay, so the next question will be, how do you think the VP supervisor can best bridge the gap between creative teams and technical teams to ensure a smoother workflow and better results?
Do that job.
That's it? Be both, yes. Do the creative and the supervisor.
And get them involved as soon as possible. From script analysis, you know, on even at the conception of an idea, you know, get somebody that understands at least 50% of it involved. You know, if somebody that understands the limitations and the possibilities. And get them to help where the tool is the right tool and where the tool is the wrong tool. But when you choose the tool to use it, it becomes a way of filmmaking, right? It's a filmmaking tool that becomes then your tool, and then you have to embrace it, and everybody has to embrace it. If there's one person on set who doesn't embrace it, then you're, well, screwed. It's the technical term, I believe. So yeah, and that should be the VP supervisor's role, partially. As there are other roles, I guess, to bridge it. But that's definitely step one for me.
I actually, within the last year, have kind of bridged this opportunity, because I have been a creative director and a supervisor at the same time for a client that we have. And what it's taught me is actually, yes, a supervisor definitely should get in much sooner, because when I'm creating, say, these 3D worlds, it's all about perspective. And I know in the past, when creative teams have had to make things, they have gone way overboard. And that all, like, budget, at the end of the day, you've got producers on you saying, like, this is like ridiculous amount of money. actually someone who does understand how things are made and then maybe does have a little bit of a creative eye, that mix is a beautiful opportunity. And I think actually what it's helped with, say, at my company is that it's a time efficient thing as well. Like I know exactly what framing the cameraman's going to do. I know what the client wants, and then I'm able to create these worlds efficiently and within very short time frames, just because I understand from, say, the technical part of it as well. So these conversations should happen. I think a creative should understand how things are made, even if they're not technically, going to do it, but they should sit down with a tech artist and understand, like, and especially in virtual production, like we sit down at these computers, we can create your camera movement. We don't need the camera. We can do it for you, honestly. Let's do that. And then you've just saved probably 5 days on set of us messing around and trying to figure out what you actually wanted. So that conversation I find in my field at the moment is starting to happen more, which again helps with time and money, because this stuff is not cheap. We are not a cheap department sometimes. So it's trying to create a premium for budget friendly people and let more people be involved and more clients have the opportunity of using virtual production, right?
Yeah, and I think you touched on two good points there, which is time and money. And I think as a VP supervisor, if you're brought on early, like we're parenting here, actually you will have to be a producer. Like you will have to budget, you'll have to schedule. So understanding those things is definitely going to be useful to you.
Doing that though does help obviously in post, because like the discussion is, why aren't we having more conversations at the beginning, trying to figure it out on set, and then paying an arm and a leg after we've done it, when we could have just fixed it in the middle part, right? Like there's a lot of conversation where people are, when they start and they go, we want virtual production, that's amazing, let's be involved, but they don't get the right people together. And that's just like the effect of the graph of money. You can just see it growing of like, there's no way when we get on set and we start supervising, there's so many hidden costs that they didn't think about in the beginning. And now that you're trying to like lightly and politely say to them, like, this isn't going to work and we're going to have to go down this route because you didn't get me involved soon enough. And now we're going to have to do it in post. But isn't the whole point of virtual production to try limit what the post side, not to take jobs or anything away, but be able to just produce more and have more flexibility in what we're doing on set, and giving, like actors and the cameramen more opportunity to, just figure out what our world's like. But also the flexibility in our creative is that you can pretty much change whatever you like on the screen pretty quickly, right? You're not waiting for art department to bring in their 10 pieces of wall or whatever, but yeah.
But be careful though, right? We can change everything, but not on the fly always. Sometimes when you give clients too many options, they will go berserk, and exactly. So there's the triangle, right? It's time, money, and quality. You can choose two.
I would agree to what Olivia just said, and to what you all said. Yeah, I would just add that, again, it's very, very important to establish these communications. And again, we're going back to the question, at what stage does VP Supervisor should join, and I think in order to give this creative freedom and kind of not to hold back productions and not to introduce more costs, you need to bring, you need to make more informed decisions, and you need to kind of start these conversations early.
Yeah, can't agree more. So, before we wrap up, I got one last question for you. As technology advances, how do you think the role of VP Supervisor will evolve? Woo.
The robots will replace us all. We're going to be made redundant, and that'll be the end of it. I went forward again. Every time. But really, like, that's the job we're already doing, right? Like, technology is changing rapidly. Like,
It's keeping up with it.
yeah, it's keeping it's just staying abreast of technology. Some things change faster than others, like LED wall technology evolves. Unreal Engine releases a new version every, 6 months? So you got to be aware of what breaks in there and what doesn't. I think we'll see the technology used in a more broad spectrum of applications, which we've already seen, right? Like you're doing a lot more broadcast work now, and there's a lot of that in traditional broadcast studios as well. But corporate AV rooms and all those kind of use cases are going to become even bigger. It's going to get easier, but it's still a bit annoyingly hard right now. There's still a lot of ecosystems of technologies you're trying to layer on top of each other, whether that's camera tracking, networks, video, LED, cameras. Again, understanding a bit of it is useful. So yeah, luckily the film stuff doesn't move too fast. Like Ari only bring out a new camera every 6 years. So, I did it again. So that's relatively okay. But yeah, just having an interest and a passion, I think you'll generally stay abreast of it, right? Like you're interested to know what's changing. So it's just a natural part of the personality trait that makes up someone in this world, I think.
I also think your team is a massive part of it. You can only be as good as the people that are around you. As a supervisor, you represent and you're the face of it all, but but you have to keep up with your team. And don't get me wrong, like I will happily put my hand up and say I'm not the smartest person in my team, but we as a collective work so perfectly together because we balance each other out in our skills and experience. And yes, I don't think the supervisor role will change. I think it depends on you and your level of wanting to be involved and your experience and just keeping up to knowledge. But as the technology grows, I think it's becoming more flexible with it. And learning how to maybe think of your own ways and joining collective technology together. Like I know budget friendly is always the way, but figuring out how you might use an LED with the green screen instead of having a full LED, right? And that becomes more accessible to the customer, right? Or being an innovator and making invisible markers and I don't know, you just who did that? Over there. But yeah, I truly think like as you go through your own experience, it's the people that you surround yourself with and how you learn from each other and you kind of drive each other into what's new and what you're capable as a team to do, but also using what technology's out there. Don't get cubbyholed into one thing. Like keep expanding your skills and also form relationships with the people who have made the software. Like that is so important. Like so many times things can be fixed very quickly by having that relationship with the people who've actually made it. They know the best, even though they might not have the experience that you've got, but they definitely have the knowledge I
again agree with everything Olivia said. I have something to add about it. I think it is very important to form relationship with the people who are actually making the tools. For example, David and I are working on a project currently, and it's about like using virtual production on a model scale, and we're also validating Gaussian splatting in Unreal. And there's only like couple, like literally 2 plugins which are on the market currently, and it's about just reaching out to these people and talking to them like, hey guys, we would like to see this feature here, and we would like to see this feature here. And yeah, the developers are very keen on having this feedback, and it's basically they can develop the tool, but it's us, the users, who will be using it, and it's about having this conversation. And I also think that VP Supervisor and like virtual production in general, it's all about adaptability, because the tools and like different kind of papers will be coming out, like again about Gaussian splatting. It kind of like changes how we producing content, and we kind of moving away from photogrammetry. And like Gaussian splats was a big kind of thing. Now we're exploring like other sorts of splats, convex and frosting and things like this. So it's about being like flexible and adapting to the new new tech which is coming out currently.
Before virtual production moved quickly, Gaussian splatting is on a whole other league. It's like a paper a week coming out and that stuff.
Don't lean forward. No, but I think the role as the VP Sup has already changed quite a bit. Where it used to be somebody with a keen interest in all technology, and now you actually have to have certain skills and also more skills than before. And it also depends on the show or production you're working on. Because if you're the VP supervisor on a very large production, you might even have an assistant. Or there might be somebody in charge of the content only, and that person then reports back to you or to the art department even sometimes. So it depends on the production you're working on, what the level of skills could be, and where it's going. But in general, you need to at least understand a little bit about everything, I would say.
Yeah, that's interesting. So we just stay flexible, stay learning, and then just do the job. And now we got some time for our dear audiences. So anyone, if you have any question to our panelists, just let me know and I will give you the microphone. See, I see the cute lady, Riti. Do you have any question for, I can give you the microphone. This is.
Hi. So questions. Actually, I don't have questions, but let me explain a little bit. Because before, I was studying film studies, so I have been to some kind of film festivals. You said like Cannes and Berlin and that kind of. Yeah, sure. In film studies this period, we don't have teachers how to work in the VP production. But we kind of analyze some kind of the new technology in this traditional film culture study, something like that. So I remember one film and one drama called The Capture. Have you watched? All right. It's about deepfake. Yeah, deepfake. Yeah, and I saw that, wow, that's insane. Yeah, outline some kind of deepfake technology and how to say, the CCTV, to film this kind of film. So my question is how to step into this area as a traditional film studies. Actually, I work on literature more like academic school because I learned studies. It's more about philosophy, film culture studies. It's not about industry. It's totally academic. It's film festival thing. It's some film thing. Yeah.
Thank you very much for the question. So you're more interested in how technology kind of changes filmmaking or film culture from another point of view?
Both, please. Yeah.
So we are currently with David working on this project called Virtual Production at Model Scale, and we have a researcher, academic researcher called Tom Livingston, and he's published a book, right, recently, where he explores just that, how technology evolves and how does it impact the culture, and how is it kind of changing the film culture and the films from an academic point of view. Very, very interesting stuff. So I can recommend you his book. And if you want to start working on the actual productions as more practical, get more practical experience, I would just say try to start as a runner. I believe that runner is a really good way to start on like in filmmaking in general, because it's a job which is junior, like the most kind of junior, but you learn so much by observing people. And if you want to do your research, like how, like what is on-set culture, or like what is on-set etiquette, we were talking about it earlier, because being on set and working on set is a skill on its own, because set is a very particular weird kind of like scenario. It has like, yeah, all sorts of like different hierarchy, and it has its own etiquette, and you would need to experience it and see it firsthand to understand. So I would recommend probably to try to get kind of a work experience maybe as a runner, and that way you will learn a little bit more of how set works, and maybe you'll get an introduction to other departments, and who knows, maybe you'll see like art department or construction or I don't know, cameras or like tracking and say, I want to do that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ruti. I believe Ruti, she must listen to what Olivia talked about. You said you need to introduce yourself to everyone, right? And that is what she's doing. And thank you, Eve, for being so friendly to her. And do you have any questions? Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Mark. I'm a lead UI UX designer at a software company, and I've been studying Unreal since 4.27, something like that, and experimenting with virtual production. I tried like several like green screens and tried doing it using a TV and so on and so forth. And recently I have a chance to shoot a little demo with a studio in Germany to test out this theory, and it's a traditional film studio. So my question is, if this demo works, hopefully, using like a Vive tracker and a projector, if this works, how do I scale this? Like I know there's different departments and so on and so forth. So what department should I get first, or how to scale from small demos to getting a production up and running? Is my question.
Are you asking do you have a project in mind that you're trying to execute?
Yeah, I have a
Right.
small project. We're doing good using small budget.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a lot of suppliers love people like yourself, and they do want to get involved, and they won't ask for costs. And normally a lot of places are already studio built, and you just come in and you can, you know, there could be a deal where you will buy their product if you can, you know, if this works out, this demo, and then you go forward with them, right? And a lot of suppliers do that. I would say, right? Do you agree? I feel like I've in my background and all the things when I want to experiment or I have ideas, I will go to the people that I know, or I'll pitch them this idea, and then a lot of people, they've got R&D, they're there for these innovative moments, right? They want to bring people like yourself, your creativeness or your brains on board to see if it's also a great idea for them, you know. And scaling up is always the best way to do it. Don't get me wrong, we've made enough home movies, you know, and it's amazing because you have to prove that you can do it to then get the next big shot. And yeah, truly, you just, again, when I say shake enough hands, it does work, and people will start to go, oh yeah, no, he was great at that. We should get him back in, and he had a good idea. And
for you all after you finish.
perfect. That's a deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a. Why is it always me? I'm gonna sit touching the wall tomorrow. That's what I'm gonna do. I think there's a tendency with people like us and people at this trade show to generalize, to be a bit technology first. And it's very important to always remember, like, why are you doing it? Like, it might just be a technological project for you, but then, like, it comes back to the creative and the content at the end of the day. So yeah, maybe Liv's idea is a good one. If you want to be more on the techie side, go to manufacturers and be like, let's prove this out. But if there's a short film or like a DOP you can pair up with, or like a director who wants to try and shoot something, like that's only going to help you kind of get the best result when there's a real creative use case.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you introduce yourself to Olivia?
I'm Mark. Yes, this is Mark. Nice to meet you, Olivia.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. So, has anyone any questions? Show me your hand. Oh, I see you, handsome. Come here. Let me hold it for you.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm Simon. I just wondered from as we're on an LED stand, have the majority of the manufacturers that are being used achieved what is needed, or are there still some technical barriers that you come across that haven't been overcome by the manufacturers, whether it's to do with refresh or... I mean, most of the manufacturers have now got to a level where the products have the same, very similar specifications, or similar-ish, but are there any things that you come across that haven't been thought about, or are barriers that need to be considered?
No, it's perfect now. Well, let's first say that the LED was never meant to be filmed with large sensor cameras, right? That was not the idea when people created LED. The fact that we are currently doing that is fantastic. The development has skyrocketed. Certainly with refresh rates surpassing 15,000 now, and random scan modes, and there's even an LED screen that doesn't even use a processor anymore, and all these kind of things, and they help. But in the end, it's all about color, and that's the one thing that we're lacking the most, I would say, even though there are certain developments happening, especially on the higher pitch LEDs. We're adding whites and other colors and so on, and that will make a big difference when that becomes readily available at a decent price range. But I don't think, and that's maybe a question for the people from PIXREAL, is when that will be available in these type of screens that we use as a backdrop. Because that's where the real, I think the biggest advantage lies, or the biggest step lies as currently, is how to achieve that real Rec 2020 color space.
Yeah, Rec 2020 is a big one. A lot of things have improved. Viewing angles massively improved since 5 years ago. Black levels, that's a real fight on a VP stage. That's improved quite a lot, but unfortunately, a camera can capture, 16 stops of dynamic range maybe. If an LED wall is 1500 nits, that's only 10 stops. And it's obviously a logarithmic scale, so 1500 nits, 3000, 6000, 12,000, 26, we're never going to get to 16 stops. That's like 75,000 nits or something like that. So fortunately, a lot of filmmaking is illusion anyway. It's an illusion. It's a craft to make an image sell. So it's just the same principles here. But yeah, I think, Rec 2020 coverage will be a big one. And keep going down on the black levels. A bit more brightness, but I don't think we'll ever go past 5,000, 10,000 nits with the pixel pitches we need. So going blacker is an answer. But of course, the DOP then comes in and shines their big light, and all your black levels are suddenly gone. So again, it comes back to communication, collaboration, and working with all the departments to use the technology in the best way, really.
Thank you. Simon said thank you. So that means a lot. So has anyone any question? You are raising your hand to show your ring? Yeah. No. Okay. So thank you so much. Thank you for our fantastic panelists to sharing such insightful ideas to us, and thank you for all of our lovely audiences. So we'll see you tomorrow at the same time, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. We are going to have another panel session with another topic. And thank you, and enjoy your stay in ISE.
Bye.